I hadn't been in that house for years. The smell hit first, lemons and old wood polish, familiar and foreign at the same time. My friend had moved away, but his aunt had stayed, and tonight I was back only because a box of my own things had been found in the attic. I told myself it was nothing, just a quick stop. Still, my heart knocked like I was 17 again. She opened the door before I could knock a second time. "You've grown up," she said, voice low but sure, eyes scanning me like she was trying to match this taller, broader version of me with the boy she remembered. Her hand hovered at the frame, then touched my shoulder lightly, brief, warm, before she stepped aside to let me in. I tried to play it cool. "Guess so. College does that." But my throat felt dry. She looked different, hair pinned up loosely, a gray streak she didn't hide, bare feet on polished floorboards. A thin cardigan fell off one shoulder. I noticed all of it in the half-second it took to walk past her. The living room hadn't changed. Same couch, same framed photographs, same low lamp that threw an amber circle onto the rug. But everything felt quieter, as if the house itself was holding its breath. She went to the kitchen and returned with 2 mugs, setting one down in front of me without asking what I wanted. "Chamomile," she remembered. "You're 20 now?" she asked, curling her legs under her as she sat across from me. 20, I said. "Feels strange coming back here." She smiled, but it flickered. "It feels strange for me too." Her fingers traced the rim of her mug. She didn't drink. Neither did I. We just sat there, facing each other over steam, both pretending to be casual. In the silence I noticed small things, the way her thumb tapped once against the ceramic, the tiny catch in her breathing before she spoke again. "I kept some of your old sketchbooks," she said, "in case you ever wanted them back." "You kept them? I liked the way you drew people," she said. Then softer. "You saw more than most." The comment landed heavier than it should have. I shifted on the couch, unsure what to do with my hands. She leaned forward slightly, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Her eyes didn't leave mine. There was no smile now, just a searching look, as if she were trying to decide something but hadn't yet. "Show me," she said. "Show me what you've been drawing lately." I reached for my bag automatically, then stopped. "It's mostly portraits." "I'd like to see," she murmured. Her hand moved again, this time to the back of mine, light and deliberate, like an afterthought that wasn't an afterthought. Warm skin, faint tremor. She didn't pull away immediately. Neither did I. The sound of our breathing filled the room. My pulse thudded in my ears. It felt like the whole house had gone still, waiting. And then the doorbell rang. Her hand slipped back, but slowly, fingers brushing mine as if reluctant to break the contact. She glanced toward the hallway, then back at me, eyes wide with something I couldn't name. "Stay here," she whispered. She rose and crossed the room, her cardigan sliding further off her shoulder. I watched her silhouette vanish toward the door, heart racing, wondering who was on the other side, and what would happen if she opened it. The hallway clock ticked like a metronome while she answered the door. I stared at the mug in my hands, steam gone now, wondering if she could hear my heartbeat from where she stood. Muffled voices, a polite laugh, the sound of an envelope changing hands, and then silence. When she came back, she looked a little unsettled, but not surprised. "Wrong address," she said quickly, sliding the envelope onto a side table without looking at it. "Happens sometimes." She sat opposite me again, but this time on the edge of the couch, knees angled toward mine. Her hands rubbed against each other, as if she were trying to warm them. "Sorry about that." "You were saying?" "I wasn't saying anything," I said, softer than I meant to. Her mouth twitched. "Right." The pause stretched. I forced myself to break it. "How's my friend doing?" "I don't hear from him much." "He's busy," she said, eyes dropping. moved farther away, new job. We talk less too. Something in her tone carried more weight than the words. It reminded me that she'd been alone in this house for years now. Her husband had left when I was still a teenager. Everyone in the neighborhood knew. She never talked about it, and I'd never asked. I cleared my throat. I didn't know you kept my sketches. I kept them because they were good, she said. And because they reminded me of someone who noticed things when no one else did. She hesitated. Back then, I needed that. She looked straight at me. No smile, no joke. Just a confession tucked inside an offhand remark. I felt heat rise in my face. You helped me too. Back then. Letting me hang around here, showing me how to make tea, giving me books. It felt like. I stopped. It meant a lot. Her eyes softened. You were just a kid, she said, but her voice caught on the last word. I should have left it there. Instead, I asked, and now? She inhaled slowly, then exhaled. Now you're not. Neither of us moved for a long moment. The rain started outside, pattering against the windows. She reached for my sketchbook, flipped it open to a recent charcoal portrait of a woman sitting alone on a bench. She traced the outline lightly with her fingertip. Is this me? She asked. I couldn't answer. My throat closed up. Her hand rested flat on the page, then slid a little until her fingers touched mine again, not by accident. This time she didn't pull back. She looked up, eyes shining with a mix of caution and something deeper. Outside, the rain fell harder. Inside, we sat close enough that our knees almost touched, both aware of the gap but neither closing it, yet. The rain blurred the windows until the world outside disappeared. Inside, the air felt dense, charged. Her hand was still on mine when a car door slammed somewhere out front. We both flinched. She pulled back first, almost knocking over the mug. I didn't expect, she began, but stopped when her phone buzzed on the coffee table. She glanced at the screen, face tightening. It's him. I didn't have to ask who. The estranged husband who still mailed papers, still called sometimes. She turned the phone face down without answering. A faint tremor ran through her hands. I should go, I said, standing up even though my legs felt like stone. No, she said quickly, almost too quickly. Not yet. She rose too, crossing the small space between us. He won't come here tonight. He just likes to remind me he exists. Her voice cracked on the last word. I stood there, unsure whether to comfort her or leave. She reached for my sketchbook again, flipping to a blank page. Draw something, she whispered. Right now. Draw me the way you see me. I hesitated, then sat. Charcoal smeared my fingers as I worked. She stood in the doorway watching, arms wrapped around herself. Every few seconds she shifted, like she wanted to move closer but didn't dare. Why are you looking at me like that? She asked softly. I don't know, I said. I keep thinking I should stop. She stepped forward until she was beside me, her bare feet silent on the rug. You think I don't? She murmured. The scent of her hair, damp from the rain, filled the space between us. Her hand hovered over my shoulder, then dropped to the back of the chair instead. We were so close that if either of us leaned an inch, we'd touch. A key rattled in the front door. Both our heads snapped up. It's just the neighbor, she said quickly, but her voice was too high. We waited. No one came in. After a long moment, the sound of footsteps faded. She let out a shaky breath, then laughed, a small, nervous sound. This is ridiculous, she said, rubbing her temples. You're my nephew's friend. You're 20, I cut in. I know what I'm doing. Her eyes searched mine. Do you? Silence stretched. Rain drummed harder against the glass. She reached out as if to steady herself, and her fingers brushed my jaw. It wasn't a kiss, not yet, just a touch light enough to vanish if either of us breathed too hard. My pulse thundered. She pulled her hand back as though burned. I can't, she whispered. I closed the sketchbook slowly, stood up, and met her eyes. Neither can I said. But neither of us moved away. The house smelled of rain and chamomile. Neither of us had spoken for minutes. The only sound was the charcoal rolling back and forth across the table, forgotten. She stood at the window, arms crossed tight, watching the driveway as if someone might appear. I shouldn't have let it get this far, she said finally. Her voice was low, almost hoarse. You're my nephew's friend. This is... I cut her off without thinking. Then why did you keep touching me? She spun around. Because I can't seem to stop, she said. The words came out like a confession, a slap and a plea at the same time. I'm old enough to know better. I stepped toward her. And I'm old enough to decide what I want. That's not how the world sees it, she whispered. Her eyes shone with something raw. If anyone finds out, if he finds out. She broke off, pressing her fingers to her temple. I can't go through another scandal. I stopped a foot away, trembling. I'm not trying to ruin your life. You're already inside it, she said. Her laugh was small, bitter, then soft again. I tried to keep you out, but you kept coming back. I came back for a box of sketches, I said. I stayed because of you. Her breath caught. She looked at me as though I'd opened a door she'd kept locked for years. Don't say that. It's true. She pressed her back against the window frame, palms flat as if she needed it to hold her up. You don't understand what I've lost. I built a life after he left. I kept this house this quiet. You make me feel. She stopped. You make me forget why I built it. I took another step. We were inches apart now, the rain behind her streaking down the glass like melted silver. Maybe forgetting isn't the worst thing, I said. Her hand shot up between us, not quite pushing me away, not quite touching me. If we cross this line, there's no going back, she said. Her voice trembled. You'll hate me later. Or I'll hate myself. I don't hate you, I said. I can't. She closed her eyes for a heartbeat, then opened them. Then tell me what you really want. I opened my mouth, but before the words could form, the sound of a car engine rose outside, headlights sweeping briefly across the front room. She glanced toward the door, panic flickering across her face. We both froze, me with my hand half raised toward her cheek, her with her back against the window. The engine cut. A door slammed. Footsteps on the porch. We stood there, breathless, inches apart, everything we hadn't said hanging in the space between us as the front doorknob began to turn. The doorknob turned but didn't open. A single knock followed, soft, deliberate, then silence. She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for an hour. Stay here, she whispered, and crossed the room. Her hand trembled as she unlatched the chain. When the door swung open, the porch light framed a tall figure in a raincoat, hood back. It wasn't her husband. It was my friend. He looked older than I remembered, but his voice was the same. Hey, Aunt Sarah. Surprise. His eyes flicked past her to me, standing in the middle of the room with charcoal on my hands. Didn't expect to see you here, man. My stomach dropped. He stepped inside, dripping rain onto the floor. Got an early flight. Thought I'd crash here. Didn't think anyone else would be around. Sarah's fingers tightened on the doorframe. You should have called. I tried. He held up his phone. No signal on the highway. He looked between us again, his smile slipping a little. Everything okay? I forced a nod. Yeah. Just picking up some stuff I left years ago. That's a lot of stuff for midnight, he said lightly, but his gaze stayed on Sarah. You look pale. You sick? I'm fine, she said. Her tone was too fast, too bright. Long day. Sit down, warm up. I'll make tea. She brushed past him toward the kitchen. He watched her go, then turned back to me. So what's really going on? Nothing, I said, but the word felt heavy. My hand smudged black on my jeans. He noticed, eyebrows rising. You're drawing here? He asked. In the living room? Before I could answer, a cabinet slammed in the kitchen. He flinched. She slammed things when she's mad, he murmured, almost to himself. Used to do it at Dad. He took a step closer. Look. I know she gets lonely. I also know what it's like to be 20 and think you're invincible. Don't do something you'll regret. The sentence hit like a cold wave. He knew. Or at least he suspected enough to say it. She's not who you think, I said quietly. He frowned. She's exactly who I think. She raised me after my parents split. She's had enough people walk out on her. Footsteps returned. Sarah carried a tray with 3 mugs, her expression arranged into neutrality, but her hands shaking. She set it down and met my eyes for a fraction of a second, a look that said everything and nothing at once. We should talk later, she murmured to me, barely audible. My friend caught it. His jaw clenched. Talk about what? Sarah straightened, something in her finally snapping. About choices, she said. Her voice cracked but stayed firm. About what happens next. The room went still. Outside, thunder rolled. Inside, all 3 of us stood around the table, the smell of tea rising like steam from a battlefield. The tea went cold between us. My friend sat on the edge of the couch, elbows on knees, looking at neither of us. Sarah stood by the window, arms wrapped around herself. I couldn't stay silent anymore. I'm sorry, I said. My voice cracked. This isn't what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. He snapped, eyes finally on me. You're here with her. At night. You think I'm blind? Sarah turned. Stop. Her tone wasn't angry, just tired. Stop guessing and let me speak. He blinked. Fine. Speak. She took a step toward him, then stopped halfway. You moved away. You built a life. I stayed here and tried to hold mine together. When he came back for his boxes, I thought I was just being kind. But I wasn't. I was lonely. Her eyes shimmered. And he reminded me of everything I'd given up. My friend rubbed his hands over his face. So it's true. It's complicated, she said softly. It's wrong. He shot back. I swallowed hard. I never meant to hurt you. I never meant for this to happen. The words tumbled out. But it did. And I care about her. Silence dropped like a curtain. Sarah closed her eyes, shoulders trembling. You're both right, she whispered. It is wrong. And it's also real. He stood pacing. You're twice his age. People will talk. They'll drag you through the same mud Dad did. I know, she said. But for once, I don't want to live by what people will say. He stopped pacing, staring at her. And what about me? You're my nephew, she said gently. That won't change. But you're not a child anymore either. You don't get to choose my life. He looked at me, something breaking behind his eyes. Then choose. Both of you. Right now. The rain had stopped. The house was so quiet I could hear my own pulse. Sarah's gaze moved from him to me, then back again. She reached out, fingers brushing the edge of the table. I can't undo what's happened, she said. But I won't hide it either. If he wants to walk away, he can. If you want to hate me, you can. I won't beg. Her honesty cut through everything. For the first time, I saw her not as an untouchable figure but as a woman risking everything. I stepped closer until I was beside her, not touching, but close enough to choose. I'm not walking away, I said quietly. Not from you. She turned her head, meeting my eyes. There was fear there, but also a kind of fragile relief. My friend stared at us, jaw tight. Then whatever happens next is on you, he said. He grabbed his bag and walked to the door, pausing with his hand on the knob. I hope you know what you're doing. The door clicked shut behind him. The house seemed to exhale. Sarah and I stood in the middle of the room, hearts racing, everything changed yet not resolved, waiting for what would come next. The house was silent after the door clicked shut. No rain, no voices, just the low hum of the refrigerator and the tick of the clock. I still had charcoal on my fingers, but everything else felt stripped away. Sarah stood a few feet from me, arms crossed as if she could hold herself together that way. I didn't think it would end like this, she murmured. End? I asked. Nothing's ended yet. She gave a small, sad laugh. Your friend thinks it has. I took a step closer. He'll need time. But he's not wrong. This isn't simple. Nothing in my life ever is, she said, eyes down. I tried to build a quiet world. You walked back into it, and now. She stopped, shaking her head. Now I don't know what's left. I reached out, hesitated, then let my fingers brush hers. She didn't pull away. What's left, I said quietly, is whatever we decide to build from here. For a long moment we just stood like that, the clock ticking. Then she exhaled, a sound halfway between a sigh and a sob. I'm scared, she admitted. Scared of being judged again. Scared of wanting something that can't last. I'm scared too, I said. But I'm still here. Her shoulders softened. She looked up at me, not the guarded, searching look from before, but something more open. You're 20, she whispered. You could have anyone. I don't want anyone, I said. I want you. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them again there was a trace of a smile. You're stubborn, she said. Maybe that's what you need. A small, tentative laugh escaped her. She wiped at the corner of her eye. Maybe it is. We didn't rush. We didn't cross the room in a dramatic embrace. We just stood there, hands barely linked, while the space between us shifted from something dangerous to something fragile but real. The kitchen smelled faintly of cold tea and rain-soaked wood. Outside, the clouds were breaking. A pale strip of dawn showed through. Sarah stepped closer at last, her forehead resting lightly against mine. Whatever happens, she said softly, thank you for seeing me. Thank you for letting me, I whispered back. In that quiet, we weren't aunt and nephew's friend, or any of the roles that made this impossible. We were just two people choosing to stay in the room. The clock ticked once, twice. The world kept turning. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?